Hey everyone, this is Zach with 8020 Media, here today with a video on the BMW M340i versus M3, which is better? The BMW M340i and M3 are both excellent cars from BMW and really share a decent bit in common, even though at the end of the day they are very different vehicles. Starting off, while both the M3 and M340i carry the M badge, the M3 is really the only true M car in this conversation, and the M340i is considered what's known as an M Light model, which means it's not actually built, manufactured, or designed directly by BMW's M division. Instead, the M340i is a standard BMW with a couple M division parts on it, and ultimately BMW threw the M badge on it for marketing. Now, none of that is meant to be disrespectful to the M340i. It's still an excellent car that really offers more than enough power, performance, handling, and fun for most enthusiasts. The M3 really just takes that to the next level and kind of takes that a step further than the M340i. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in and discuss in depth how the BMW M340i compares against BMW's iconic and legendary M3. Starting off with M340i versus M3 performance, this is really one of the main differences between these two vehicles, and that is the engines that each of them use. The M340i uses the BMW B58 engine. It's a 3-liter inline-six single-turbo engine that delivers up to 382 horsepower. It's an incredible engine. So the BMW S58 found in the M3 is a 3-liter inline-six twin-turbo engine. Now, while it's based loosely on the B58, the S58 is completely redesigned essentially from top to bottom, with over 80% of its parts being different from the B58. So for those who may think the S58 is simply a glorified B58 found in the M3, that truly is not the case. Again, the S58 really takes things a lot further than the B58, especially for use in things like motorsports, racing, track use, etc. The M3 and the S58 are designed with that kind of aggressive use and abuse in mind, whereas the B58 isn't quite built to the same degree there. And again, that's not to say the B58 isn't a good engine by any means, but ultimately the main point here being between the B58 and the S58, they're both excellent engines. The S58 really just takes things to a new level, especially from the factory in stock form. Now, moving on to aftermarket performance and upgrades for these two engines, the M340i with its B58 is able to make upwards of about 500 wheel horsepower with basic bolt-ons on the stock turbocharger. So that's a very impressive number. And compare that to the stock BMW M3 with the S58, which makes 503 horsepower. Basically, a couple grand in mods can take the B58 above and beyond a stock BMW M3. However, if we compare it mod for mod, with basic bolt-on mods on the stock twin turbos, it's capable of making upwards of about 700 to 750 plus wheel horsepower. So really a significant advantage over the B58 looking at how capable these engines are with stock turbochargers. And that also applies to taking things further with upgraded turbos. The B58 is an incredibly strong engine that can safely handle about 650 to 700 wheel horsepower. However, the S58 is still a little too new to say for sure. However, everything seems to point to this engine being able to withstand 800 to 900 plus wheel horsepower. So again, just goes to show the fact that the S58 really is the stronger, better engine between the two, but the B58 is still incredible and ultimately offers more than enough performance for most enthusiasts, unless you're looking for some crazy 1000 plus wheel horsepower build. Moving on to our next topic, we have handling. So again, the M3 here is really built for track use and motorsports, and that all shines in all of these parts related to handling. For example, the M3 is going to have the higher quality, much more aggressive suspension, brakes, wider wheels and tires, more camber, etc. And so ultimately the M3 is really just built with handling in mind more so than the M340i. One thing that's hard to discuss and put into words or really describe with numbers is the difference in feel between the M340i and the BMW M3, with the M3 being built by BMW's M division and built for use in motorsports, racing, etc. There is a much better driver feel and feedback and something that again is just really hard to explain between the two cars, but there's definitely a feel to the M3 that I think the M340i just doesn't quite deliver to the same degree. On to one of the final topics for the M340i versus M3. Let's look at price. This is where things really start to swing in favor of the BMW M340i. If you look at brand new vehicles, the M340i is about $15,000 to $25,000 cheaper than the BMW M3, so already a pretty significant difference in price right off the bat, and that only grows larger and larger when you start looking at used BMW M3 models. It's really hard to find a G80 M3 for anything less than $75,000. They really don't lose that much value this early in their lives, and so ultimately buying a used M3 is barely cheaper than buying one brand new, and so ultimately that is one of the tough things about the BMW M3. If you buy it brand new, it's nice that it holds its value very well, especially for those first 5 to 10 years of its life if you maintain it well. However, it also makes it hard to get into an M3 since they don't lose their value and they're really not much more affordable used than they are to buy brand new. That's why I did want to bring the F80 M3 into the comparison a little bit here and there, since price-wise, that's really a better ballpark with the G20 M340i. So looking at the F80 M3, you can typically find those in roughly the $40,000 to $50,000 ballpark. However, we're talking about a 7 to 10-year-old car here that's likely going to have 50 to 70,000 plus miles, that you're still paying for as much for that F80 M3 as you would be for a roughly 1 to 3-year-old M340i. And so that goes to show that the M340i, especially if you're buying used, tends to provide a much better value. However, on the other hand, again, the M3, if you're talking about buying new, it does have that advantage of holding its value a little bit better than the M340i. In summary of the BMW M3 versus M340i, ultimately, there's no shying around the fact that the M3 is the ultimate superior sports car and enthusiast car between the two. The M3 offers faster straight line performance, better handling, better driver feel and feedback. The M3 still offers a manual transmission to this day, something that the M340i lacks. So between the two, again, the M3 is really going to be the more kind of hardcore enthusiast car and the one that delivers better performance virtually from top to bottom. However, the M340i provides a good balance between offering what's probably more than enough for most enthusiasts while coming in at a much more reasonable price point. So the M340i still has an excellent engine in the B58. It's very easy to take those engines to 500 plus wheel horsepower, especially with upgraded turbos. Even on the stock turbo, it's an incredibly capable vehicle. Ultimately, that's probably more performance than anyone will ever need on the streets for normal daily driving or normal driving situations. So again, that's really the value and the benefit of the M340i, is that you get a lot of car for a much better price and debatably a much better value than the BMW M3. Anyway, guys, that wraps up our video for today. If you appreciated the content, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more in the future. Thanks, everyone.